Hi there. And the CZI Congress Odyssey continues. We've met a lot of fantastic people. And this afternoon, we've found ourselves Professor Mbohwa, who is, and I hope I get this right, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Strategy and Industrialization, University of Zimbabwe.
Strategic Partnerships and Industrialisation.
George, you couldn't memorize. That is, how many characters are in that title?
I didn't
Oh my gosh.
There's a reason why you didn't go to
I didn't qualify
UZ.
to get into UZ.
He doesn't like partners, so
Welcome to the show, Prof.
thank you very much.
What are you drinking?
I'm drinking white wine.
That looks like
So-
water.
That does not look like.
Some people call it water, but when you are born drunk like me, then everything is wine.
Well,
I'll actually join them.
Okay.
well.
I don't know why you guys started drinking. It's only 10 a.m.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
Stop trying to manipulate the audience. It's late in the afternoon.
Somewhere
even
in
if
the
it-
world.
And even if it was 10 a.m., it's dust somewhere in the world.
Well, anyway,
And we're drinking this fantastic product of the 16 men of 10. I think this is going to be one of my favorites. It's right up there with Bolvini. You guys don't know what you're missing out on.
Oh, that's good. I think he lives in many time zones, so that's fine.
anyway, Prof, maybe you can start by just telling us, okay, that title that I messed up. If you can tell us what it means.
Strategic Partnerships and Industrialization. Well, the partnership aspect being strategic means that you are looking at long-term relationship where you actually want partners that go the long way. And like I indicated before, I always call it a marriage without a divorce clause, where you are saying we are in it together forever.
That sounds awful.
And industrialization.
When it actually comes to the actual marriage, then maybe some would think it's awful.
You must always have the option to exit.
But I think it's good. Industrialization, I think, is doing anything on a wide scale. Most people think that industrialization is the steam, the locomotives, the engines, everything going on, mechanical things pounding all the time. Yes, and
I like that you
not
chose pounding.
always. But I think you're looking at everything that goes on a large scale. I think one of you was talking about waste removal. If you do that on a large scale, then it's an industry.
Yeah.
So, and what's the connection with the university?
What I was saying is that when I went to university, I could choose 10 different jobs. You know, I could go to Shangan Mines, I could go to Sable Chemicals, I could go to the National Railways of Zimbabwe, I could go to Cisco Steel. Actually, I was offered many jobs and I took the railway job. But any student studying mechanical engineering now can be unemployed for life.
But
That's-
they could jump the border and go elsewhere where there's a high demand for mechanical engineering.
Yeah, that's a temporary solution. I mean, I've been 12 years in South Africa and came back 2019 in July.
You jump the border.
I jumped backwards. Upstream.
To me, I find that quite interesting because South Africa is a functional economy in my mind,
It is, yeah, but what
and ours is not. So why did you move from functional to dysfunctional?
well, there comes a time when you make a decision that is nothing to do with money.
Okay, it's got nothing to do with that. Makes sense.
He's an academic.
I mean, they looked after me well in South Africa. I mean, when I left, I was roughly more than R1 million salary per year. And then they offered me 60% more.
Can I have your former job?
Yes,
Speak to someone.
yes, you
I'm
can.
willing to jump the border.
Professor of Sustainability Engineering.
I can figure out how to do that.
Yeah, so you can figure it.
You couldn't figure out his title, and you think you can figure out his
His
job.
job, yeah. You're
So-
very
so-
ambitious,
So I think
and
there's
you shouldn't have any more.
I think there is material things. There are certain things which are spiritual, where you feel like, you know, I need to do something before I retire. So I think my heart and soul moved to Zimbabwe. And when I discussed with my bosses about why I'm moving, I said, you can give me all the money to keep me here, but we'll be maintaining a corpse. A corpse in the sense that, yeah.
All right.
That's
Your spirit was,
I'll be in Zimbabwe.
That's a very interesting point, Prof. So obviously there would be many others who would have felt the way
The same
you
pull
did.
home, yeah.
And what would we need to do as a country to bring at least some?
to increase the magnet so that we can attract a lot more people.
Because
who
you're
feel
an
the
outlier,
urge.
I think. I could
Yeah.
be wrong, but I
So
suspect very
most of
much-
your friends are still in South Africa. Eh?
I'm always an outlier. When the crowd is going this way, then I'm normally wandering around in different directions.
Okay. A contrarian.
Yeah. So I think a lot can be done to attract people here back. I think one is openness and friendliness to those who are coming back,
By who?
by those that are in the country, by government, by industry, but also that we need a mindset shift. We need to think about values in a bigger way. For example, I attach more value to land than to money, than to any kind of economy. And you know, some people think about the e-economy, electronic commerce, and so forth. Yes, that enables something, but I think when you look over centuries, you'll find that the value of land is most critical.
You're saying the value of land is less about capital and more about the attachment from generation to generation, the spiritual attachment to land, or the capital, land as capital.
That and more.
Okay.
I can look at Saudi Arabia and say that 300 years ago, if you wanted to buy it maybe for 10 billion US dollars, you could buy it,
The whole country.
the whole country. So it's also material, it's also economic, besides the spiritual angle of belonging. And if you look at the value of Dubai and the value of Saudi Arabia now, it's trillions.
Okay.
So that land would not have less value than the greenback, than the US dollar, which is a paper that anyone can print.
But how do we communicate that to our diaspora community? How do we make them then buy into the same value?
Not only the diaspora, the Zimbabwean youngsters, the people, in terms of realizing the value of who they are and what they have. I mean, most people have been to, I don't know, 50 countries more, lived in many countries. You don't come across a hectare of land that you can acquire in China, in India, in Japan, in Europe. You might actually be considered a millionaire just for owning a hectare of land. And that aspect needs to be instilled in the minds to value what you have and to travel and see what is there.
But if I go to South Africa or I go to America, I can own a piece of land. In fact, it will be in my name. In Zimbabwe, it will never be in my name. But in America, it's just my money. It will actually be in my name.
Yeah, it varies from country to country. If you go to Europe, maybe it might cost you €1 million. But what I'm saying is that when you look at owning land in South Africa, the land issue in South Africa is not sorted out. Farmers are killed left, right, and center. Foreigners are killed anytime. So if you apply a prediction model, which can be mathematical or spiritual,
You seem to dabble in both.
you might find that the chaos that will happen, they can engulf you.
Yeah, maybe not South
But
Africa.
I'll make the case. I'll disagree.
I can also talk about the USA. I've lived there for a while. Most farming is subsidized, and the subsidies are kinsman linked. And when you join that kind of community, where you use land for farming, for example, you would just be entering a queue for subsidies, where food is bought and thrown into the ocean. And you say,
I mean,
well,
no,
is
if
that
I just want to own a piece of land. So I decide I want to own a piece of land. And I'm saying America offers that opportunity. Where
And you
it's
get a
actually-
title deed.
There'll be a title deed in my name.
Even in South Africa, you'll get a title
Yeah,
deed.
whereas in Zimbabwe, if I say, not that I want to farm or whatever, I just want a piece of land, it will not be in my name.
there would be
So
reasons.
the spirituality element, I don't see it because it can't go beyond me. Because the spirit must live beyond me, right? That my great-great-grandkids will be able to enjoy that piece of land. Whereas in Zimbabwe, that piece of land is actually owned by the state. It's not owned by me.
Yeah, no,
How do you reconcile that?
That's understood. When you look at America, the cream of the land is taken, and it's not for sale. You go to Hollywood, you go to Santa Barbara.
It's just very expensive.
Santa Barbara,
Because it has a title deed, it's very expensive.
Not only that,
Okay,
but
it's got demand, it's
but
developed.
I get the point that he's making. That if you're a Zimbabwean and you're living out there and you want to have a piece of land,
Yeah.
you're more likely to get one here and you're going to get it cheaper.
In your name?
In your name.
Where?
Okay. So you're saying, and your argument is, but it won't be in your name.
If it's not in your name, how is it yours?
what I'm talking about is the value system. It's good to generalize to say, I'm allowed to do this, I'm allowed to have this. You can own a ghost town. You go and buy it and see whether you leave debts and suffering for your kins or not. So you have a situation where, like I say, the cream and most productive land is taken.
All right.
And if it's for sale, you can't afford it.
Okay. And in Zim, the most productive land is also taken.
Yeah, but again, when you compare, you must know which are the apples and which are the oranges. Yeah. I always say that if you open up land for sale in Zimbabwe, obviously, I mean, if I own a hectare and somebody comes and says they want it for $100,000 US, I'll sell it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be happy, $100,000 US, buy a car, do whatever. And in 100 years, your progeny will have nothing. Yeah, that's one aspect. The second aspect is that there is nothing that stops monopolization of that land. Yeah. In other words, big companies can own all the land, and we can all be squatters on that land. So it's a situation where you're talking about a small economy that is maybe 14, 15, 18 million people, whatever number you have, and the 330,000 Americans, a million Americans, who have a system that is more complex. I mean, some of the things, you know how it is. Who controls the economy, who controls the levers and so forth. There are so many hidden controls of the elite that manage the way things happen. I mean, we could go into details.
So you're not for title deeds, basically? For land? Like for everybody who's got an offer letter today, if the government were to listen to me, which is highly unlikely, they would issue
Well, if you were not drunk all the time.
if they would issue everyone in possession of an offer letter a title deed, and that individual would then have the right to do whatever they want with their title deed, to put it in a trust for their progeny. They can, and
They can
And
sell
I buried there.
they can sell it and buy whiskey.
Yeah,
But okay,
and from a spiritual perspective.
but okay, before I mean, you guys are already responding to his argument. But I think Rufaro is beginning to ask an important question. I sense we are now in a land tenure rabbit hole, but I think it's fine. Let's go down that. Let's go down the rabbit hole. But I think if we're gonna go down that rabbit hole, let's give the professor a chance to articulate his philosophy on the land issue, so that you can respond to a holistic
Fair enough.
elucidation of the philosophy.
Well, I can start by saying that, suppose you had 40 hectares, and you're offered $1 million, would you sell it or not? Maybe
It's a lot of whiskey.
Maybe you might. Maybe you might not. All I'm saying is, I've seen these bailouts. I'm not an economist or financial expert. That happen in trillions of dollars. And I can imagine if I just wanted to say, well, I want to own Zimbabwe, I can do a bailout and own all Zimbabwe. You can't do that in America, you can't do that in Europe. You can do it in Zimbabwe.
But you can't with offer letters.
So obviously, no, with the title deeds, I'm saying everybody's title deeds here. Yeah. That the chances of just deciding in China that I think we needed to spare $1 trillion to take over Zimbabwe is much easier.
So are you saying kuti tiri vana vadiki here? Tiri vana vadiki here? Tiri vana vaduku nekuti tofanira kuudzwa nevakuru kunzi imi munozotengesa nyika.
No, and so tiri vana vadiki. What I'm saying is that there's a certain reality that comes with economic development, with whatever creation of wealth.
But okay.
I can.
But we could limit it. If
that
was your concern, we could limit it to Zimbabweans. So land can only trade amongst Zimbabweans.
No.
You have full title, and you can trade amongst Zimbabweans.
I beg to differ. Let's look at real life examples where there is title, right? Like Zambia, right? Zambia, you can have.
No, they don't have.
They don't have title.
Okay.
We became the rest of Africa.
You have to look
so,
like
Rufaro,
Kenya or something like that.
No, even Kenya they don't have. We became part of Africa. So we were one of the few outposts where you could actually have title, because the rest of Africa doesn't have title. And it's part of the reason why it's underdeveloped. But we then became part of the rest of Africa.
I can give an example of South Africa. Have you ever seen Mukuku in Zimbabwe or in other countries like you see in South Africa? Mukuku is this squatter camp structures.
A shanty.
Shanty town.
Okay. All right.
Oh, they're there in Kenya on an epic scale.
Yeah, there's a high population, okay. But in South Africa, they're primarily caused by lack of land.
Is it not poverty?
Yes, there's poverty. And wherever they are, they're illegally settled. And whoever goes there knows that you can find a BMW parked by this shack. They know the land there they're occupying illegally. It belongs to somebody.
So perhaps the example
so what they do
so
is Kumusha, and there they don't feel secure because they are foreigners. And
so you're saying just because you have title doesn't mean that you have security or tenure?
No, it means people in poverty
it precludes other people
have nothing.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's a different discussion. So let me use Zimbabwe as an example.
Perpetuate poverty.
I like that you mentioned that we had title before land reform, right? And if you think about it, pre-land reform, right, when anybody could rock up with a check and make an offer to buy land, was our country taken over by the Chinese or Americans or Europeans?
Let me say that at one time I went to Shamba and I found 7-star lodges. Yeah, you'd say Mikros, bye-bye. I want to be there near the big python that is hunting in these areas. Those guys would not sell you a square meter of that land. You could bring in $10,000 and the farm would be worth $1,000. They would not sell it to you.
That's their right.
Yeah, that's their right. So we're saying if the whites are owning the liver of the country or the fillet steak of the country, it's their right. Leave it.
No, but now you've redistributed.
Stay
it's
So it's no
black
longer the white
people.
people.
And we're
Without-
saying that guy with an offer letter.
Because they won't
why
sell
not
to you. How do you redistribute something
No,
that
no,
is not
but
not
now
for sale?
where we sit in 2021,
today.
it's been redistributed to black people.
It's actually a black person.
So it's no longer the white people.
Yeah, that's
So that guy doesn't have security of tenure because he's holding on to a piece of paper that's called an offer letter. And at any moment, right, if somebody in government is annoyed with that individual, they can revoke that offer letter, right? But if you
Or
have
if they're
title,
not productive, that's the new.
right? But if you have title, right, and you own this piece of land at law, then nobody can just wake up one day and decide that actually we're going to disenfranchise you.
Can you apply that model to China? Can you apply it to Japan?
I think.
Can you apply it
Yeah. So
to Singapore?
So
If you look at China, it's going to be the biggest economy in the world without title deeds, without
but
title.
it's
All I'm
still a
saying
bad
is
idea. It's just because China is not
No,
doing
but
it.
he's saying that they're developing without it. So do you
Well,
need it?
no, because remember, the per capita, it's still
A poor country.
a poor country. Like
Yeah,
China per capita
but
is still a poor country.
if in the process you graduate more than 300 million people to the middle class from poverty, with the promise maybe to graduate everybody from poverty, I don't know. So I think when you look at these models, we have to unlearn what we know, decolonize our minds, and try to think a bit more independently.
Okay.
No, I agree with what you're saying, and I like that he brings up the Chinese model. China is a perfect counter-argument to democracy and free markets because they actually have done well. They've lifted 600 million people out of poverty between 1981 and 2011. So we can't deny that they've done incredibly well, growing the economy and eradicating a lot of poverty. But that doesn't mean necessarily that their model is ideal, that it's the best model.
Yeah.
And to the extent that we might revere their model, if you look at what we've done with letters of allocation, we haven't exercised the same level of discipline in our policy in terms of being consistent over a long period of time. Because the Chinese, love them or hate them, they have been very consistent over the last 30, 40 years. Do you think
Consistent, not with Maoism.
Yes, they dumped
Consistent.
Maoism.
Post-Mao.
Yeah,
Post-Mao.
Yeah, post-Mao, yes. I mean, they say they don't care whether the cat is black or white. As long
Does
as
it
the cat is mice.
Yes.
But if you see the most recent things, there's a reversion from that.
Yes.
Yeah, they're going back because it was a-
she's
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's reversing that. Yes.
So
Yeah,
so
Xi
that's why
Jinping is
principles.
having another model, and still the economy is
But he's
expanding.
not having,
So maybe
I don't think he's
Professor-
having another model. He's basically said, we've achieved the goals of
Yeah, but he's
Deng's
regressing.
reform. I don't think he's, like, okay,
Ask the billionaires.
He's regressing. He's regressing.
Exactly, he's regressing.
He's
But
chucking
Professor-
people in
Professor-
jail. He's closing down businesses.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
let's start. That's,
yeah.
But I've got a question for you. What was the land tenure system pre-colonial, the colonial state?
pre-1890.
Pre-1890, what would have happened? What was the system? Who owned the land, and how was it owned?
The system was that the people owned the land, and if you look at the Munu Mutapa,
Yeah.
from about 1000 after Christ, the Munu Mutapa was more like confederacy.
Confederacy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? And you had kings under him, you had Mazishe, Masadumu and whatever. And all those were authorized to handle land transactions on behalf of the people,
Okay.
of the community there. So it was a completely different tenure system. And I think it worked.
What is it akin to? Like, if you were to put it to today's terms, is it an offer letter, or if could anyone under the Munumtapa, could anyone take my land from me? So let's not use terms like title deeds or offer letters, but
No,
if
but
I
that
had
was
a piece
feudal.
of land,
That was feudal, Sashi.
Well,
Because it was entirely at the you were
Discretion
entirely
of the
at
lord,
yeah.
of the king.
Yes. It was perfectly feudal. This one guy could decide that you can't have this piece of land.
I don't think
Go
that's
away.
true.
I think what happened is
I don't think
that
He could.
I don't think that's
you kept
true.
the land as long as you hadn't violated certain laws or taboos. So if you had done something and you were banished,
You lost your land
you had to leave.
in the king's sole discretion.
Okay, so
and one thing I'm saying is
land
that
land was owned. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, but from a spiritual perspective, the whole idea ekuti tiriva na wefu is pre-colonial times. Land is not owned by the living. Land is owned by the dead. Right? Land.
That sounds like a rabbit hole we shouldn't go down.
No, I'm telling you, land is not owned by the living. Land is owned by your.
No, the land belongs to chief.
No,
there's only one owner of land in our tradition,
Mwari.
Mwari.
Yeah.
Anyone else is managing land
Custodian
on
for-
behalf of the people.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but then the owners are the Mudzimu and the Mwari. So the lineage is, the ultimate owner is Mwari, but from Mwari it's those that have died before you.
I think we're mixing religion.
Yeah, I don't know where he's coming
There's
from.
the spiritual world.
You should have some whiskey.
And the spiritual world and
Well,
the
you can dispute Chigwedere.
there's the living world.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that we've also touched on religion. Yeah, and what I'm saying basically is this: that if you go to Rome, you realize that Christianity was punished quite a lot. There's maybe 50 kilometers of underground graves for Christians who were murdered.
Yeah.
And Peter was ordained to be the rock upon which Jesus Christ would build his church.
Yeah. That's
So
true.
you have St. Peter's Basilicum. Yeah? All the popes are buried in St. Peter's Basilicum,
Yes.
inside the church. And where they are buried is Holy Land, is fenced off by ribbons and whatever. You are not allowed to cross to that side unless you're a pope. Mudzimere. What's the difference between the saint culture in Christianity? Yeah? And the Swikiro culture in Shona. And if you look at Christianity,
But in Christianity, you're never possessed by Peter.
you are every pope is a Peter.
That is true. And
Yeah.
that's the whole
There
thing
are
about
names
the,
that repeat. John Paul I, John Paul II. I don't know what you call it.
Well, there's a reason why he's referred to as Christ's vicar.
Yeah. And the first 200, 300 years of Christianity, if you ask anybody, they will tell you that there were no popes. If you go to St. Peter's Basilicum, there were a number of popes. The only challenge is that they were African, because Christianity was only allowed in Egypt and Ethiopia and in Africa. And the Mwari dynasty.
Yeah.
If you look at the Bantu migrations, you might find that Christianity was already part of the Bantu people.
I agree.
gentlemen, I think we're entering a new rabbit hole, and this is where I end this recording.
So I said, he has taken us to religion now.
It's been lovely having you along. I don't know if you followed us. I think this is definitely tough for a hangover episode. So you'll probably watch this on a Monday. But we hope you enjoyed it. We hope it's inspired some thoughts. We hope to see a lot of comments on our social media
We
pages.
should have him,
Yes.
Yes, he should
Okay.
come. Yeah,
You
you should come to our bar.
And maybe next time you can have some real white wine.
I'm allergic.
But yeah, I think we need to further develop the discussion on
Yeah,
land.
I think what happened is we ended up with so many topics, from land tenure to
We've got
everything.
so much to talk about.
Yes, we do.
So we have so many areas of disagreement and debate.
But But this is what we like. We like to inspire discussion. We like to inspire debate, and just get people thinking and talking about things. So thank you very much for coming along.
No, thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you.
I found it
we
very
had a good
interesting
time.
because if I had a class like this as a professor, I would be much happier.
Are you sure about that? As usual, stay safe. COVID is real. Be good. If you can't be good at it.